Hello everyone and welcome back to another chapter reading of The Prince's Secret by In My Arms Again. Chapter 6, Witch Hunt. Hermione paced outside the open door of a long-disused classroom, her conscience laden with stress and guilt. She had managed to successfully get out of arithmancy on the bogus grounds that she was ill and needed to see the nurse. It killed her to do it, but she had no choice. Thank Merlin for that brief moment of understanding by Professor Vector. That woman was almost impossible to lie to, and Hermione knew it far too well. She looked at her watch, trying to calm her nerves. Where the hell were those boys? Surely they hadn't accepted an offer for quiet tea from Professor Lupin. It was Harry's bloody idea to go on this search. They should have been the first ones up here. Hermione's rapid heart skipped a beat when she heard hasty footsteps coming down the hall. She was ready to dive into the dark, dusty room when Harry and Ron came around the corner, gasping for air after running up the steps like they had an angry dragon on their tail. Harry leaned against the wall while Ron doubled over and took deep, gasping breaths. Days when I'm so glad that we dropped divination, he croaked. I never would have been able to run from all the way up there. Especially not after second-hand incense smoke, Harry added. Enough of that, you two, Hermione snapped. Yes, all right. Harry quickly composed himself. Now to find Rose. Remus said that he hasn't seen her since this morning. Hermione, did you see any sign of her on your way upstairs? No, I ran into Parvati and Lavender, and they said that they hadn't heard from her at all. But I don't think Rose would bother going to divination after that. I don't even think she knows how much trouble she's in. Then why would she feel the need to hide? Ron asked. Hermione shrugged, her brows wrinkling. Well, if anything, I suppose she thinks Snape's coming after her. Right. Let's just think, sighed Harry. Where would be the first place Rose would go if she wanted to get away from people? Wherever she went, it had to be someplace that neither Snape nor the others would know about, said Ron. The three of them were quiet, totally immersed in thought. Ron continued, Hermione, Rose is your roommate. Brilliant, Ronald. Hermione rolled her eyes. What are you trying to say? I'm just saying that you know her on a different level than we do. Try to think like her. If you were her, where would you go if you knew you were being chased by a few angry dunderheads and a slightly unstable teacher? Hermione pondered again, trying to recall anything Rose might have mentioned to her over the course of 7 years. Finally, she snapped her fingers. The Muggle Studies classroom. She used to go there all the time while on her breaks from class. And she's been telling me how well she's been getting on with Professor Wicker. She could have gone there to hide for a little while. That's too obvious. Ron shook his head. Ron's right, Harry agreed. And there's also a class in there right now. I doubt she used to spend her free time sitting in on another lesson. And besides, Wicker wouldn't be able to protect her for long. She's just too new here. She wouldn't stand a chance against Snape. Think, boys, Hermione bit out. We have to think of unlikeliest places. What about Moaning Myrtle's bathroom? Ron asked. That certainly is unlikely, said Hermione, but it's a start. They all bolted for the stairwell and swiftly made their way down the marble steps. They tried their absolute best not to make noise as they ran, and Hermione was constantly looking around. She didn't want to take the chance of also being caught out of class. Never mind Rose. In no time, the little group closed in on the infamous out-of-order Lou. They crept in, Hermione taking one last look around the corridor. Sure enough, Myrtle was floating above the cubicles, wailing on and on about doom and gloom or whatever her problem was. Harry stepped forward and cleared his throat. The ghostly student whirled around, and her bleak features faded into something soft. Oh, hello, Harry, Myrtle said in her quieter, gentler voice as opposed to the harsh shrill she was so known for. What are you doing out of class? Being a bad boy, aren't you? Not necessarily, Harry stated bluntly. Myrtle, has anyone else been in here today? No. You three are the first ones I've seen in a long while. Are we? Asked Hermione. Then I take it you haven't seen a friend of ours, then. Which one? Asked Myrtle, tilting her head to the side. Have you heard of a girl called Rose Beckett? Hermione clarified. She's about my height, red hair, blue eyes, Gryffindor. Snappy sarcasm at times? Asked Myrtle. You've heard of her? Harry exclaimed. Oh, yes. Myrtle floated down to hover just next to Harry. a little too close for comfort. She's only come in here twice before. 2 years ago, I think. And she never came in here unless she had another girl with her. I think they were being naughty, brewing some potion or something. To the three friends, Rose's knowledge of a potion like bubble juice suddenly started to make sense. Myrtle continued, She seemed nice enough, but so nasty when she got her knickers in a knot. I wonder how her friends tolerated that Slytherin boy in particular. Well, Myrtle, Harry cut her off. You haven't seen her recently, then? No, Harry, I haven't. I haven't seen anyone since those awful Death Eaters took over the castle last year. I would have assumed that either she was dead or she's left. Well, she did return to school very much alive, said Ron, but that fact might be in question right now. Hermione smacked Ron's arm. What Ron is trying to say is that Rose is in trouble right now and we need to find her. Ooh, Myrtle grinned, her eyes squinting with curiosity. What did she do? She ticked off Professor Snape, and now he's angry at her, and we don't know where she is, said Ron, not stopping for breath. Oh dear, that is bad, Myrtle sighed. Now when you say angry, he's furious, said Hermione. It's like he's out to kill her, Ron interjected, but then he paused. Who knows? He might just be. Stop it, Ron, scolded Hermione. Snape is not going to kill her. But she's still going to be in a lot of trouble, said Harry. For all we know, Snape could try to get her expelled. Oh, dear me, Myrtle moaned as she floated back above the cuticles. Oh, Harry, if I see your friend, that is, if the professor doesn't find her first, I'll tell her that you were looking for her. Myrtle, if you see her, tell her to find a better hiding place, said Ron as they let the student go to her reveries. Harry sighed as he and his companions exited the bathroom. He and Ron leaned against the wall as Hermione slowly paced. All right, we knew that she probably wouldn't be in there, she said. We just have to think. But Hermione, interjected Ron, where else could she have gone? It's a huge castle, Ron, Harry pointed out. And Rose isn't exactly a slow person. She could be anywhere by now. Just let me think. Hermione rubbed at her temples, yet she remained calm. She continued to pace, now crossing paths with Harry. The head boy also looked as though he was deep in thought. He stopped mid-stride. She may not be in this loo, but she might be in another one. But then Hermione would have to check every single girl's bathroom in the school, Ron seemed to object. Then we'll just have to split up, said Hermione. We could cover more ground that way. And so it was that the three went their separate ways after deciding on their respective destinations. And so it was that the three went their separate ways after deciding on their respective destinations and ventured off into the empty halls. Hermione had surrendered to the task of checking every girl's lavatory that she knew of. Harry had sent Ron up to Gryffindor Tower, while he took to checking over places like the library, also quickly glancing into open classroom doors. Who knew? Maybe the clever bitch was hiding under some teacher's desk. As ridiculous as that sounded. Harry just couldn't help but wonder. Harry had just exited the library, still alone, when he heard the sound of footsteps around the corner. He saw an imminent black shadow on the wall. Harry didn't know what told him that the shadow and those footsteps belonged to Snape. It might have just been some sort of sixth sense, but he had picked up over the years. Whatever it wasn't usually wrong. He ducked behind a corner, and lo and behold, he was right. Snape came around the corner and seemed to stop in front of the library doors. Harry peered out to see what he was up to. He saw that Snape's wand hovered just above his hand, pointing in some obscure direction. The tip was shining with a light that was somewhere between white and a very faint green. It looked like a much better version of a basic directing spell. Harry suddenly felt a surge of panic. He and the others were now on a race to beat Snape's wand to Rose. The urgency of this was made painfully obvious when Harry caught sight of the potions master's face. Harry waited until Snape disappeared down the hall, following his wand and his own sense of direction. Then the young man took off in the opposite direction. He had flown down several flights of stairs when he ran into Hermione and Ron as they too went to head downstairs. Neither of us found anything, said Hermione, sounding most disappointed. What about you? The only thing I know is that we're running out of time, Harry told them. Snape's on the move, tracking spell and everything. Oh, God! Hermione started to panic. Where the hell could she be hiding? I went up to check our room, and still nothing. Harry got an idea. Hey, what if we go ask Hagrid? Maybe he's seen her. Harry, she hasn't gone anywhere near that hut since 4th year, Ron tried to reason. Well, right now it's the only option because I'm running out of ideas. Harry was interrupted by the final bell of the day ringing. Come on, let's move. Once on the ground floor, the trio ran out toward the cloud-covered courtyard. From there, they made their way across the school grounds. The hems of their robes soaked up what was left of the rainwater in the grass. Their shoes were squeaking when they approached the door of Hagrid's hut. Harry banged on the door, setting off Fang's loud barking. The half-giant pushed open the door with a smile. Well, hello there, he exclaimed. What a wonderful surprise. Please come in, Apty. Actually, Hagrid, Harry interrupted, we came to ask you something. You know Rose Beckett? We were wondering if you'd seen her down around here. Yes, it was Hermione's turn to speak. She's in a bit of a pickle right now. We want to know if she's all right. Hagrid smiled. Then why don't you just go yourself? He stepped out of the doorway. Harry, Ron, and Hermione were all stunned to see Rose sitting at Hagrid's massive table with a huge cup of tea in her hand. Her robe and shoes were drying by the fire. She turned to them with a little smile, raising her cup in acknowledgement. You really are a bitch, Ron blurted out. What? Is this the last place you expected to find me? Exactly! Rose wasn't the only one to laugh at Ron's frankness. Hagrid chuckled heartily as he motioned for the three friends to come outside. They hoisted themselves up onto the remaining chairs as Rose set down her cup. So how did you know I was here? She asked. We didn't, said Harry. It was one of our last ideas. Rose, we've been looking all over the castle for you, Hermione explained. Hagrid poured out tea for the rest of them. Really? You've been looking for me? Rose looked strangely puzzled. Why is that? Well, after what happened in class, we wanted to know what happened to you, said Hermione, sipping tea. We wanted to make sure you were all right. Well, as you can see, I'm quite all right. Rose tipped her head back, drained the last of her tea. I might be a little jittery, but I'm all right. You must have had a hard time coming up with ideas. Class has just ended. Actually, we've been searching around for 2 hours, Hermione explained, looking away in embarrassment. Harry and Ron didn't have any trouble, but I had to abandon arithmancy. Rose raised her eyebrows. You skipped out on a class? She sounded astonished. Hermione gave a short, shameful nod. Rose choked a laugh. Beard, that's incredible. You really value my friendship. Don't mention it. This is more of a rose from Hermione. Where else did you look? Everywhere, said Ron. The common room, the dormitories, bathrooms, the library, empty classrooms. Between the three of us, we covered the entire castle. Oh, I'm sorry if I led you on a wild chase, said Rose, wrinkling her eyebrows. How did you end up out here? Asked Harry, quite curious. Well, after I ran out of potions, I wandered around the halls for a while. I had to blow off steam, you know. I couldn't possibly go to Nations, not with the luck I've been having today. The last I needed was to have Trelawney warn me of some more bad shit ahead. I thought of getting up to the common room, but I don't know what stopped me. I ran to Hagrid and some told me it was a good hideout for a few hours. You'd be stupid not to. Royce raised his eyebrow, shook his head. Why do you say that, Ron? Asked Hagrid as he sat down in his enormous armchair. Let's say that it involves a professor who has no sense of big care. Rose growled, resting a hand on her forehead. Don't even speak to me about Snape. Words could not possibly describe the loathing I feel for him right now. In fact, I couldn't possibly give a damn about him right now. But don't any of you think I'm out here because of him. I'm because I just wanted to get away from the fucking world. But I had left class. Do you really want? Hermione asked. Rose's fell. No, that doesn't sound good. I have no idea, Harry added. After you took off, Snape was so furious that even the Slytherins were scared. Carry on with the lesson. He just discussed us and straight into his office. Right before he did, he deducted 300 points from Gryffindor. He did what? Shouts, standing up. He did 300 points, Harry repeated very glumly. But he can't do that! You don't think we told him that? Suggested Ron. He was going to anyways. He didn't care. His face turned red, scrunching shut and baring her teeth. Fuck! She lashed out her teacup and threw it against the wall, smashed it. Fang barked at the sudden crash. Oi! Hagrid jumped. Calm down last. Walked over and placed a hand on Rose's shoulder, gently pulling her back down in air. Rose quickly regained control of herself and relaxed again. Looked down to the broken ram with guilt. I'm sorry, Hagrid. I didn't mean to do that. She pulled out her wand. Reparo. The cup ended air and flew back up the table. All right, Rose. No, I'm done. Understand it's a tough day for you. Hagrid patted Ted to call his relentless barking before sitting back down in his chair. 300 days, eh? I didn't think you had that many to lose. You didn't, said Harry. A negative figure. I can't believe he did that. That fucking get. Surely McGonagall wouldn't allow it. I don't think she can give those points back so easy. Ron shook his head. Someone would have pretty amazing in them. Rose rolled her eyes. Yeah, I could do them. 300 points? Mine, said Hag, seeing Rose cradle her head in her hands. Having a cup of tea. That's second which, but Rose seemed to simply stir with her fingertips. We thought it was better for you to keep us than from someone else, said Hermione, setting aside her cup. You got some travel sick. Yeah, it to me stab at me. Oh, the feeling more that I don't know about. Rose massaged her hands up a thought. She easily looks at her faces. What? It's slither to hunt me down and tweet this. No. Let us away. But you've got the idea. Wrinkled eyebrows and condition. What is he talking about? She got Hermione. Also diverted her attention to Harry. Glasses for eyes. The other Gryffindors aren't happy at all. He explicitly re-shielding his green eyes. After this missed us, they were so angry that devised a plan to track down after classes. And do what? Asked Hagrid, a bit shocked at what he was hearing. Oh, no, said Ron. I don't think they got that far in their planning. Like any arm. I don't agree. Harry turned to face the half-giant. You should have seen them. Like they'd all gone mental. Rose tried her new. So what you mean to say is that we speak, a number of our house are probably going to run a witch hunt. There were they, said Ron, hanging his head. No better than muggles, I tell you. Rose stared at the fireplace, he thought. It would be an Sheamus, wasn't it? And Neville, added. Rose groaned, playing her head on the tabletop. Fang got up from his basket, stood his head and I think they would do on me. Ask me hit with Snape, watch what happens. Rose's muffled against the wood. She did see his face, Harry's eyes. Yeah, Ron spoke up. There's something else you should know. The ginger girl kept her mouth shut and let us skip throat. Tell me that's me. I saw him on the 4th floor, said Harry. And looks at it and said on quickly. He was using a tracking arm. I'm honest, I wouldn't be surprised to be bursting at any moment. Rose, Hermione leaned forward across the table. Did you that you would be in deep trouble? I said. Of course it did. That hit right before I left home. But how was I supposed to be the extent of tracking him down? It's like he can't ask to do it. Rose interjected. Turn, stroke out Fang's head. Hagrid, be so kind as to Hagrid, would you be so kind as to escort me back up to her? Hagrid shocked the request. But you know I can't protect her alone. From what I heard, Claudia said things that would discipline. Snape quite to discipline, and unfortunately it would come soon. It would have come soon. I'm sorry, lad. Coming. Rose's eyes wandered around the room. Oh. Yeah, my name starting to sound all right now. And that was the break mention that everyone seemed to eat. Once had gone, the four friends big tied to Hagrid and started while the magical creature's teacher could be Rose was to be left alone. Work together, Harry decided. We can make sure she gets us there safe. Just joking with Hagrid, right? Protect action. I can handle myself. Just rather not take. Rose as they approached the massive doors. They all looked closely together through halls, keeping a contact. Had just been released from classes everywhere. All four of them felt incredible tension being watched as cute and annoyed stared at Rose. Evidently, about what had happened. Her really spread quickly. They very young Gryffindors up to common room. But they just carried their business. Harry still can't get the ear open for their Irish. They stopped to anyone. It would have been stalling. Even when they were approached, nearly headless on the floor. Diverted attention by saying, "You didn't see us, all right?" It took ridiculous amount of time to get up to the 7th floor. Going. The little group ended up doing everything in their route to avoid instincts to duck around should Snape suddenly appear. But after a while, no sign of anyone. Rose got lulled into a false security. She ignored the fact that there were people looking for her. Waltzing around the halls, Rose got nothing amiss. It grew to such an extent they turned the corridors that led to the lady. Rose turned actually began to walk words. "What'd I tell you?" she said, facing the other. Nearly the nose those idiots greasy bastard. Harry thought Rose would really be careful and said, "After all, in this unique case, the walls actually have ears." Oh, shit. You don't know if you could be around, or if your voice is carrying. Harry, we before I to someone, I think we should have run in now. Rose continued towards Rose, see Hermione and Lady. We could find any time. We're not going to get caught. The trio suddenly rode. Stop. All looked as they had just seen the ghost of being named anymore. The fight, well, evidently something bad was behind. Heard. She slowly turned to the floor. Faster. His pointed to her chest with a fiery red tip. There was silence as Rose held her breath. Oh! Suddenly, the sudden burst of energy raced to feet. Before shaking for it with fire. Oh no, you don't! He growled. You're not getting away this. Get your you. Rose fighting fierce, strained, pulling at her wrist with her power, but point. Stupid began to congregate them. Some were even drawn out of the Gryffindor by the noise, including defeated just silence. You're coming. Rose was forward, her stumble in his direction. I can assure you will not get this. He started to hurry. Dig her feet over. Shut up, All Harry do was watch as they pulled away. Squares and holes. And stranded as when her doors flew and one several they had he forcefully shoved the student toward the deck, causing her to stumble onto her knees. Rose looked at her head of house McGonagall did not like having her leave on her glasses. Good afternoon, Mr. McGonagall. I was trying to force a smile. I'm ready to say Miss Beckett. We got her quill down, and it's what Professor told me there was a disturbance for the cause. Our interjected. Severus! The proud elderly witch scolded her younger colleague. She turned nose. Now, Miss, could you explain why could I? Popped an eyebrow. Professor Snape is already everything with head. String to Rose. That is exactly about. Little Brett has sense. Shut out. So you do what you said to the. Asked McGonagall, ignoring the man's ranting. Rose sighed, drifting closed. No, Professor, I don't. Bet. Snape. She had I had some punishment for this. Oh, yeah, stop, instead of Snape's hand clenched, pale thing. Perhaps it is you not have proper eyes. Towards student. You went on. Had you in which by you shouldn't. You have no right to tell me what house I should be in, shouted Rose. Silence. Back. Again, struggled to escape. As I had I gladly see to it that you asshole again. That's her. McGonagall stirred teacher act to reach reality. So to say that Rose's hand distinctly purple. Surely then did he let her go. Back into his original position. Both fight in. It's not your place to make decisions. That's Severus. He dismissed. She turned her attention to Rose. Beckett, help you realize that your behavior is to me. Importantly, while I agree with serious consequences in order, I do not answer. She noticed the build disbelief as to relief. Lightly. That would be an insult in respect. Therefore, seeing as I cannot house points further about this, and you shall receive night remain of this to the follow. Let's tell you. Just recommend that you learn to control your temper. Good, and that you did. Now, report back here for your first attempt. Go from there. You may return to your dormitory. From the room. Here, probably protesting these disciplines. Dare admit it, but she felt Snape meant it when he fell. But really, we're near and the negative point. There's not bad enough. She could, and as he walked her, it eventually higher and sound as she approached the stone. As she said, the day her image. Approach that lady. Do you remember the pen and enter the common room, though. Was going about activities. Playing, listening to music, and she approached the fireplace. Hermione and Ron waited for her. She was still in anger for her housemates. I'm sorry, all right? She traced her just. I should say. Marlin, she's still Stared at the book is Harry. Double join in the conversation. Snape had to end her life. There was that noisy for her. They're just still amazing. Rose cushions. So what happened? Did he? Here to if he did. Smile. Her head right. Harry upstairs right now. Pack. The Muggle didn't think it was necessary. But easy. Oh, did not. Rose blinked. I had every 9 next 2 in weeks. There was action from more than a few, or just the trio. Areas bouncing the walls. Is he asked. I wish. She said. 3 weeks. That sound amazed. That's right. Wave a hand in distribution. So tomorrow. I get the letter to get that letter. No. I'll interpret this little outburst as how it's. Nobody knew to that. Knew what. Let's cat and a cloud over the couch. 70 years nearby were quiet. Read back. No right to rob that. Rose shook her head herself. If anybody knew, it was that of her father. Wizard, who had come from a line of Irish Puritans, though he himself shot from his marriage to her mother. Unfortunately for the young witch, when Rose, Alistair abruptly walked out on him. Since then, her mother. Alistair's relationship with his daughter was many times easier. It's only detached and isolated. And as she sat in front of her friends, to her father, 2 years. No fight. Rose. Of all had to mention my brother everyone at reaction. It just wasn't the reaction expecting. I think Snape is so Harry. Maybe should his parents and if you ask me, Ron added. It's special to get. He especially would know what's been words of her fellow Ginger, or the others around them. What was referring to? Though was wish that it has been. Nothing about her had done between little bit of that while she was making her own way in the world of magic, with a dodgy crowd. He was muzzled from his days in Slytherin. One revealed to be working for Lord Voldemort. It was only a matter of time of find out about the shocking real life. A week forth the door. He received a letter from the other had being involved. in a band, surfing out a tent. He's lucky I didn't slug him. Snape. And even think of bother. That. Was rather. Thanks for that. Rose's tone and sarcastic. Was boys. Hello, Beckett. You should. Questions for you. That might do you a world. Letter. And I think the frustrating. Snape has dad. Said drugging. Hermione leaned over and smacked hard on me. What? Did. It's true. Let us start to pace. I swift. Take it out of my. Otherwise, you would have been thrown out of Hogwarts a long time ago. Friends laugh together. Feeling better than that. Rose sat enjoying the lighthearted humor in the conversation. Word. Too much. Ask me. I think Snape's trying to a respectable wizard like you have to make up for. No. Thumb into an inch. You know what I mean. Pop, and then she laughing to himself while hand. Rose took in a sharp breath of air. Oh, it's horrible. Ronald, it's horrible. I'll Ron, give it to you. Take loathing and every time. And now I can understand what you see. Rose was forced staring into the burner. I see the bastard. More trouble. It'll be your head, Ron. If that's the case, I'll go with you. With a sarcasm. Don't make said Harry. I'm sure we'll throw you under the night bus. Ron rolled his eyes. Really makes me wonder what's gonna happen to us when we show up for potions tomorrow. Don't look at me like that. Shook her. How am I supposed to know? You really don't much. You really don't know much today. This tease. But Rose continued to glare at him, backed by. How do I say that I'm sorry? The whole her. As many points back to mocking eyebrow. Oh, shove off! Snape was not alone. The voices of their mumbles as Rose to lean forward. She cradled her face in her hands. For them to understand having a dreadful day. That reminds me. How did you actually much back into the head? Ran out of Snape's and he's up a bit. Got better as time went by. And then by the time he had Hagrid's, it was nearly gone. Of course, it's back now. That's what had been before. Ron giggled. Snape to go fuck himself. That made everyone, even the first years. Hermione briefly even knew exactly what. Rose all out with force. And smiled. Alright, I have to tell you, she explained. I said, that one I really didn't mean. Then why in the name of magic did you say Harry? Rather curious. I don't know, but you try to think it straight. I don't know, but you try to think straight. Your skull's cracking her. Rose laughed, half to herself. I couldn't stop myself. It just sort of exploded out of some belly's orgasm. Her attention was once again drawn to giggles of the noise first, who had no reason to find words funny. Sat at a desk in her office, ripped wood with her fingers. In front of her was all the fact of all the facts. Names, all had been scratched out. Other words elegantly scribbled by them. The utterly felt attention as she looked down the list for the time. No hours, Severus had stormed out of her time walking around up on the evening plans for the. After all, she should have Rose assigned some for detention, served as a witness. At first, she wanted Rose with Remus as she felt that he wouldn't be too hard on her after what Minerva had come to find out was a hellish day for the girl. But the werewolf told her that he had a 3-foot-high stack of quizzes to grade, and he didn't want to take the chance of having a student there with him while he worked. And on top of that, he didn't want to have to make her write lines only to find himself counting them later. As Minerva inquired to each of her staff members, she found that her options were quickly running out. It seemed that an alarming number of them had some sort of business to attend to that students should not be involved in. Whether it be grading, tutoring, or rearranging their lesson plans, Argus Filch was already giving detention to 3 other students, and Minerva didn't want to take the chance of putting Rose in danger by sending that girl out with Hagrid. And as far as forcing the girl to do manual labor with the house elves, Minerva didn't think that. Minerva never did that unless she was left with absolutely no other choice. Minerva secretly wished that it hadn't been one of those nights when she found herself buried in paperwork. Otherwise, she too would have taken Rose herself. But after going down the entire list, Minerva came to painfully realize that there was only one person who was available to take Rose: Severus Snape. Once she realized this, Minerva went to great lengths to see if there was any room for change. There had to be someone else who could take her. She couldn't put Rose with Severus. After what had happened, that would be a recipe for disaster. Minerva kept thinking back to what Severus had manhandled the young Gryffindor into her classroom. She kept thinking of the sheer fury in the potion master's eyes, the pure rage in his voice. If Minerva could describe seeing him like a word, it was frightening. "Hard at work, Minerva?" A gentle voice came from behind. Minerva turned to face the headmaster as he crept in. "Oh, Albus, don't sneak up on me like that," she said, surprised. She had been so concentrated on her task that she hadn't heard him come in. "Sorry, I just couldn't resist." "What brings you down here?" "I was walking before dinner, and I decided to drop in," Albus explained. "What are you working on?" "I assume you heard what happened in one of Severus's classes," asked Minerva. "Ah, yes, I did hear that. People in Hogsmeade heard that." "Well, I've been trying to find someone who can take Miss Beckett's detention," Minerva explained. "It's proven to be quite the problem." "Why is that?" asked Albus, sitting down by his deputy's desk. "Because I didn't realize that all the staff had other commitments tonight, and for the next few nights. At the moment, there's only one person who is available, and that's Severus." "Oh dear, that is a bit of a problem." Albus shrugged. Minerva shook her head. "Albus, I don't want to put her with Severus." "Why not?" Dumbledore sounded rather curious. "If he is the one she insulted, then who better than Severus?" "You weren't there when he brought her to me. You didn't see the look in his eyes." "I don't think I've ever seen him so enraged, Albus. If I'm honest, it scared me a little." "Minerva, we made a promise to parents. Severus knows that he cannot afford to slip up. I don't think he's going to go off murdering students anytime soon. It's not in his nature, anyway." I'm still not so sure about this. Minerva began to massage her temples. You know as well as I that Severus can be unpredictable at times. You've already seen what he's done to our house points. I don't want to risk anything more. The headmaster thought for a few minutes before turning back to Minerva. You know, it might not be as bad as you think, Minerva.